Now the E. Remember I was saying in the beginning, the P and the E were the most important. The E stands for setting expectations for student behavior. You might think that you don't need to do this. Why? Because you might think either the students are old enough and they know better, or their principal is going to be in the back of the room, so they will be on their best behavior. No, they won't be. We have seen students definitely challenge the teacher who is there for the demo lesson, and sometimes it can get ugly. So be ready for that. It probably won't, but you just want to plan for that. And the way that you plan for that is by making sure right in the beginning of the lesson, you're setting expectations. And that starts by just explaining what your rules are. I would suggest 3. You can have anywhere from 3 to 5. Whatever it is, just make sure it is super brief. This is why I keep telling you, make sure that you record and practice your demo lesson beforehand. You should not spend any more than 2 minutes telling them what the rules are, okay? And you shouldn't have to. It should just be really, really, really quick. And don't ask them for their input. Don't ask them. You can ask if they have questions if you want, but if you invite them to participate and to provide information about the rules and expectations, you're going to end up adding more and more and more minutes to that segment that has nothing to do with your lesson, okay? If you want to do that in your own classroom, if you want to create the rules as a class in your own classroom, do it. That's great. That's amazing. But don't do it on the day of your demo. It takes too much time. Just give it to them. Just tell them what the rules are. Limit to it about 3. That's my recommendation. Really simple rules like raise your hand, respond to the attention signal. That's a huge one. I would do that right away. Just show them what your attention signal is and make sure that they understand that anytime you do that, they need to stop what they're doing and respond, okay? And that's gonna look much different in 1st grade than it looks in 10th grade or 11th grade, but you just wanna make sure that you do it, okay? Why? Because it will be such a nightmare, I promise you, if the students are in the middle of working and you have to get their attention and I'm doing the clap, I know I hate the clap, you probably hate it too, but I'm just doing it. And nobody does it, or 5 students do it. They don't hear you, they're not responding. It's gonna be, you're gonna get flustered, you're gonna feel overwhelmed, and the adults that are observing in the back of the room are gonna be thinking to themselves, this teacher can't keep students safe. What if there was an emergency? Okay, so whatever your attention signal is, a bell, flickering the lights, a hand signal, a countdown, whatever it is, you do what works for you. Just make sure that you communicate to students what it is and what they're expected to do and how they're gonna respond to it. I also recommend doing a pre-written chart. So have a little chart already ready with your 3 rules there and just post it and point to each one and quickly go over it, see if there are any questions. Again, this is gonna look much different for younger students than for older students. Do it in a way that's appropriate for the group that you're working with. But I recommend a chart, and I recommend that the first rule is something about an attention signal. If you have younger students or special education students, make it interactive and use visuals. So next to the words, there should be a little picture that explains what the rule is about. So if it's raising your hand, there's a little picture of a hand. If it's eyes on the speaker, there's a little picture of eyes on the speaker. If it's stay in your seat, there's a little picture of a kid sitting in a seat, okay? That way, if they don't know, can't read the words, they can still access what the rules are and make it as interactive as possible. So I already used the example of the attention signal, but if one of your rules is raise your hand, you're gonna tell them, raise your hand. This is interactive. Now I wanna see everybody raise your hand. Good, good, good. I see almost everybody's hand raised. Show me what to do. Good. Okay, hands down. Let's try it again. Raise your hand. Just that type of thing. Just make it interactive so that way if they're completely zoning out, it basically just makes it impossible for them to completely zone out if you make it interactive. Last thing, and I can't stress this enough. I've said that so many times, but I really mean it. whatever the directions are for student work, you want to display them. You want to show what those directions are, either write it on the board or have a pre-prepared chart telling them, you know, what page number they're on, what the question prompt is, what the problem is, if it's a math problem, whatever it is, just have it clearly, the directions clearly displayed so that students can have no idea what's going on and they can still read the board and know what they're supposed to be doing. You don't want to spend that time when you're supposed to be circulating around the class, checking for student understanding and supporting some of the struggling students. You don't want to use that time telling students what they're supposed to be doing, if that makes sense. Okay, so what I want you to do right now is I want you to write out 2 to 5 norms that you would have for your demo lesson.